Thank you all so much for joining today. If you have any questions as we go through the webinar, please just type them into the questions box on your screen and we will be sure to get those answered by the end. With that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Alex Burns, who is the Vice President of P3 Propane Safety.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Emma. Thanks everyone for joining Freddie and I this afternoon. As Emma mentioned, I'm Alex. I'm from P3. I kind of oversee the development side of P3 and what's going on, new functionality changes, just kind of listening to what's important to people and what's going to help them run their business more efficiently. What types of inspections do they need? What types of partnerships are really going to help them out? So that's a big part of what I do here. Which is great why we have Freddie joining us here today, because we have a long-standing relationship with RCC that we, fully appreciate, and all this stuff has, our relationship with RCC has come about because of a, common need with our customers, people who are working with the RCC folks, people who are working with us, and really that integration of bringing the two systems together. So today we just figured we'd take some time to just, for anybody who's new or maybe thinking about working with one or the other of us, just kind of give you a real brief general overview of what the integration has always contained, and as well as what's some kind of newer stuff, what's been happening since the last time we updated here. But before we jump into all that, I'm going to flip it over to Freddie for an opportunity to introduce himself and also RCC as an organization.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex, and thank you,
Yeah.
P3, for allowing me to be part of your webinar series. So welcome, everyone. My name is Freddie Ridler. Been in the industry for over 2 decades now, which has been a lot of fun. It's always great sharing stories with the friends that you made across this great industry. My current role at RCC is Head of Business Growth. So my job is to go out and make sure that our name and our company is growing. Also our engagement with the industry. So just like, P3, we are very heavily engaged with the NPGA. So we go out and listen, and we try to figure out if there's things that we can do together to help provide services for anyone in the industry. So that's kind of my current role. But before that, I was kind of all over the place with RCC. I've dabbled in a lot of different areas, but this by far is the most fun I have with RCC. Is I get to go out and meet all of you and talk to you about the services that you need. And again, back in 2020-ish, sometime around then, Alex and I and some other P3 folks got on a call, and just like any other happy marriage works out, you start communicating with another person, and it turns out that you have a lot in common, and then you find out that you can work together really well. And that's kind of how the P3 and RCC integration started. And I'm really excited to show everyone where we're at today, and hopefully somebody learns a few things about RCC and P3, and we answer any questions about the two companies and how we work together.
Great. That sounds awesome. Yeah, as Freddie mentioned, we do work closely together, which has been great. We meet as a team on a monthly basis just to make sure that nothing's slipping through the cracks. If any, questions, concerns, new ideas have been raised by any common customers, we're kind of, making sure that we're staying in touch relatively consistently to make sure that we're continuing to evolve this integration, which I think is evidenced by the number of phases that we've gone through. Like Freddie mentioned when we started this thing back in 2020, it was really just a one-way, what we call phase one, or the one-way integration of information passing over from RCC into P3, just kind of your basic customer demographics, which is great for adding efficiency, for reporting in P3, for any folks out in the field, text drivers completing inspections, having less information that they have to hand enter or type in. So that was really just the beginning, and that's kind of where we started. And then slowly over time, and I think we'll actually just do a brief overview and kind of show you what each of these look like. We then rolled out phase 2, which is basically you can link from essentially the account details screen in RCC, and it'll bring you right over to the account details screen in P3. Then we kind of moved on to phase 3, which is basically a link from your Mogo hub that'll bring you right into P3 mobile. So the last time that we met on this webinar series, when Freddie came to join us was, as I mentioned, back in the spring of 2025. And that was kind of what we had for integration at that point. We've since continued to evolve that and are now working through into what we would call phase 4. So I think kind of just talking about that, maybe, I don't know, Freddie, do you want to share your screen and bring up some of the screenshots and we can kind of talk about the details on that? Because I think it's nice to be able to see, like, you know, a lot of this, like I said, that phase 1 is really kind of coming into P3, but basic information. The rest of it really is nice to see the flow between the two systems.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to point out too is I just got back from the Northeast Propane show, and it doesn't matter what show I get back from. Safety is always a number one topic, right? It's something we all have to practice and preach and learn and utilize. And that was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that all of our customers had using our product is a way to track being safe, right? And I know Chris Wagner would appreciate my plug for him and all the work he does for the NPGA, but he's always preaching about safety. And this is one of those things that you really need to do because you hopefully never need to use any of it. But if you ever do, you have it. So it's kind of like insurance, right? It's never fun paying for it, but the minute you need it, you have it, and you're glad you have it. So I just want to say that as well, because a lot of that gets overlooked a lot. And again, I don't want to take any spotlight from Chris Wagner and the wonderful presentations he does about being safe and bringing a safety culture to your business. But I just wanted to make sure to say that this is all part of it. And hopefully someone looks at this and sees something that they could fill a gap that they currently have at their office. But kind of showing you the different phases that Alex was talking about. Let me share my screen here. So this is just an RCC screen. This is version 10, the hub. But one of the things that the first thing we had to do very early on was to communicate data to P3. So we're not pushing, you know, CSV files, right? We're getting away from all the flat file stuff. It's just going to be all done through APIs. But we're pushing data to P3, and we're pushing data to P3 with real-time communications pushing it behind it. So basically, the initial sign-up of P3, we send all customers' locations and we call them equipment or containers over to P3, and they store them on their server. If you go into RCC to make any changes to addresses, equipment, location information, or whatever else that's going on, we do send that over to P3 as well, real-time. So any real-time activity that you're doing inside of version 10 is our source of truth, right? Because RCC is going to be the source of truth. Everything you do in RCC will make its way to P3. Then we said, okay, we're offering a service to our customers, and our motto at RCC is everything underneath one roof, right? We want to make sure that people feel comfortable with our product, the user interaction. We want to make sure they can get to everywhere they need to be just from one software. We said, well, we don't want them going off into a URL and bringing up the customer's account, all these extra steps that are just not needed. So we put inside of RCC's version 10 a quick link that says P3 external customer lookup. That means that if you have, in my case, this customer ID BER or account number 9060, if you have them open in RCC and you click this link here, it pulls up their account and you can go right to P3's web portal. So now this is from a desktop. So this is their this is their website. This is their web portal. This is the P3 screen that you can go in there now to look up, you know, serial numbers, regulators. You could do cathodic tests, transfers. You could see everything that's happening kind of in the P3 realm of what we just passed to P3 from RCC. So it's a way to keep your customers in RCC, not having to go anywhere else, but just with a quick click of a button, you can bring up P3's product now. And Alex, if you want to give this a quick description of what they're looking at, and then I'll go into the phase 3 of it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. Like Freddie said, this brings you right into the account details, which this is just a really good overview of kind of everything that's going on with the account. You know, you can immediately see any photos, also information about stuff that isn't necessarily passed back to RCC, kind of like the review status. If there's anything outstanding, you'll know. You can see on this particular example, the photo documentation, everything's been reviewed and approved. But if there were some sort of issue, you could see right away that maybe there's an outstanding issue on the dashboard, and it would tell you that right there. So you can just, again, this is just a great way to get a quick snapshot of all the information that's been gathered about the account and to link to any more details that you need. And, you know, as we're bringing more and more to this phase 4 that we're going to talk about, you'll, you know, a lot of these documents will already be in RCC, but again, this is kind of how it gets you into P3 and into any of the reporting. You'll understand, is this account flagging for any particular issues? This looks like a pretty solid account that's looking good, but just a good thing to be able to get right in here and get a good overview of the account. So I think that's probably just a good brief explanation on that.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
And then, so that was like our phase 2. So 1, we're sending data to P3. We're sending changes and updates to P3 because we are that source of truth. Phase 2 was to be able to have a quick link right from our product to P3's website, right, web portal. And then we added a phase 3 to all this. Now, this is someone's real data, so I just blurred it out, took some screenshots, but I jumped on their Mogo tablet real quick while they were not being used or driving down the road because I said I need this for a webinar today. But this is a live look of our Mogo tablets. Now, this is our Windows Surface tablet that we call Mogo, Mobile Office on the Go. So basically it gives all of your customers access to every single customer, location, inventory, equipment. Typically, they use Mogo for propane deliveries, fuel deliveries, gasoline deliveries, cylinder exchanges, and so on, meter reading. But we also have an interface called the Service Work Order, Mogo SWO. And that allows you to do service work from the tablet as well as delivering propane or other products. So this is a screenshot from our Mogo tablet. And if I had outstanding work orders, you would see that here. But I just brought up a customer and I clicked the little wrench on the top left. And what that does is it brings up the work order screen. So this is actually going into the work order itself. So if they were to click the service work order button, this is where they could take pictures or they can do parts and fittings, what they're selling, what they need to be invoiced. If they need to fill out any other documentation that we have, very generic stuff inside of Mogo. But again, we got to the point where it's like, okay, we have a great service work order platform for invoicing, but we need something for safety side of things. We want some backing that helps with forms and pressure checks and leak tests, and we want to document this. And that's again when we thought P3 because they have a really great product. So just like inside of version 10, the hub, we have a quick link that gets you right to the customer's account without going anywhere else. We have a button inside of our tablet called P3 Hub. And when the service tech clicks on that, it brings up the mobile platform. So now it looks a little different, right? Because this is coming from a website or a desktop or a computer. This is more of a mobile friendly platform. And Alex, if you want to kind of talk about what they're seeing now, because this is now a P3 link.
Yep, exactly. So this is just right into like, you know, texting the driver in the field, they're working on their tablets. This is exactly what they're going to see. So this is our mobile application. And this is where all the, you know, again, P3, as Freddie kind of said, we live in that kind of safety documentation space. That's really what we do. And so this is sort of the portal where all that happens. So now that tech or driver in the field has clicked through from the work order, they can determine exactly what inspection type they want to continue with, and then just click through and start their work right from there. So again, just making it as seamless as possible.
Perfect, thank you. So
Yeah.
then we got through that third phase, and this phase 4 was actually thought about before phase 1. When we talked to our developers and leadership team and we said, hey, we are going to be integrating with P3, one of the first things that we discussed internally at RCC was, okay, we have no problem pushing data to anybody, right? With APIs, you can do pretty much anything. But we were like, how can we get stuff back from them? So we're sending you to P3 to do a bunch of work, but how can we get some of that back so we know it's being done versus me bringing up, you know, more options and P3 external customer lookup every single time to see if there's any photos that were done by P3 mobile platform, or if there's any cathodic tests or any forms that were filled out, right? So we just completed phase 4, but it'll come in little steps of what we're getting back from P3. But phase 4 now allows us to go right into our own imaging. So I'm still in RCC right now. I'm in version 10. And you'll notice that we actually have a file cabinet or a subfolder called P3. And now if I click on one of these forms, you will see that this was filled out on the P3 portal, and now your company can see all this information right from RCC's version 10. So we bring back, what are some of the things we bring back now? We bring back photos, safety inspections. What else am I missing?
An interruption of service currently, and then
Interruption of service.
we're in the process between the two teams right now, kind of QAing and getting the final details of actually passing back the cathodic protection inspections as well. So that'll include those 4 inspection types pretty shortly here. Yep.
Perfect. And if you are using RCC currently right now, and you're like, wow, I really want more information about this integration, if you go to our website, rccbi.com, and you go to our resource page, this is all the integrations that work with RCC. There's going to be a tab in here called Safety and Compliance. Here we put in contact information where you can get a hold of somebody at P3 to learn more about their product. But we just integrated embedded an RCC and P3 integration demo. And if you're an RCC customer, you will have access to our members hub, which is fully loaded with training videos. But you can come in here and we do like a real quick video on all the integration side of how RCC and P3 works. And if you don't want to watch the video, we also have the integration flyer that we also send out that you may see in your inbox. It just talks about different ways that we work with P3 and all the different steps or phases that we just talked about on our call today.
Great. Wonderful. Well, that kind of is really it in a nutshell in terms of everything that it currently contains, and then obviously some great resources from Freddie on how to view more information, and we certainly are sharing that flyer as well. And I think if there's anybody on the call who is thinking about getting integration up and running, that would be something, reach out to us, reach out to Freddie, reach out to me, whoever your contact is. And, we work as a team to make sure that we have everything in line and get everything up and running for you with integration. But it's a really easy process. We try to make it as simple as possible, and we really just kind of get in behind the scenes and hook that up pretty quickly and get you up and running. So, so I don't know. Is there anything else, Freddie, that you want to talk about specifically before we see if there's any questions? Or
just one more comment I'd like to make too.
Yeah.
A huge shout out to Mallory who on your end does she always work with?
Oh, Jane and Mallory.
Jane and Mallory. I want to give them a huge shout out because they really got all of this working. The communication between P3 and RCC would not have worked so well without those two. So they both did a very good job getting all of this done. We have great documentation inside of RCC how this all works. It's a very, like Alex said, a very seamless integration. It just takes both parties saying, yep, we're ready to work with each other. And then we pretty much take you out of the middle person. We just get it all set up and it's just working. So it's a really easy integration to get going. And I really feel like there's a lot of value in P3. And also I want to talk about their engagement in the industry as well. You see a lot of familiar faces when you travel to different events, and P3 is always representing their company and their service that they supply. So it says something about who they are and how much they care about this industry. So just a quick shout out for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Freddie. And another thing I think that's kind of in that same vein that I believe is worth mentioning, RCC has been great to us over the years. And I know they do what I think you guys are now referring to as a summer camp. You're kind of very successful summer user group. And that's something that we've been a part of for years. And we just, again, really appreciate the fact that that's something that not only that you guys put on for your folks, but then also include us in that as well. That's something that we're really appreciative of and glad to be able to be a part of that. So thank you for that too.
If you are an RCC customer or not an RCC customer, like more information about summer camp, I got to plug it now.
Yeah,
if you go to rccbi.com, there's a little floating banner on top. If you just click on camp information, it's awesome. There's a great testimonial on why you should attend, whether you are a vendor or an actual propane supplier, independent propane marketer, or a supplier in this industry. But check it out. We do have lots of fun, but it is very educational, and we do bring our vendors on stage with us because we all do this for the same reason, and we want to make sure we have a great product for the end user. Thank you for plugging our summer camp.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, thanks again for including us. Great. Well, with that, maybe we'll just check in with Emma and see if any questions have popped up.
Yeah, looks like we have one here. So if someone decided to do the integration, would it send over all the prior information as well, or just from the day we integrate?
So the way that it works right now is as we're kind of, this phase 4 is a little bit newer as we're sort of talking about here. It's a move forward. So from the day it's turned on, moving forward is what it is. Because what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to just like slam a whole bunch of information into RCC system, because we've had some folks that have been working with us for a long time now and have a ton of data. But that is something that we have been talking about as a team, is a plan to work on that historic data kind of coming over. So anybody new starting with us moving forward, it would just kind of happen automatically. But for those of us who, for those of you who've been with us for a while, have some legacy data, I think at some point we'd like to come up with some sort of batching, even if we did, did like a few hundred a night or something, but we just can't have thousands and thousands and thousands of inspections just sliding over all at once. So to answer your question, it is move forward. So again, new client wouldn't make much difference. If you're a legacy client of ours, we would, let's have that conversation about what that would look like.
And Alex was talking about the phase 4 side of this, right? Obviously phase 1, 2, or 3, we send everything. So all containers, all locations, all customers, whether they are a 10-year customer of yours or a brand new setup, we will send all of that information over to P3. It's the stuff coming back that would be have to be batched out.
Yes, thank you, Freddie. I was focused on.
I knew that. I'm sure that's what the question was for.
No, that's great. No, it's good to talk about all that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers that question. Is there anything else?
Yep. So it looks like this is an RCC question. So we are still using RCC version 9 with plans to move to version 10. Will integration work in the meantime if we decide to integrate? And do we need to be web-based with RCC for the integration to work?
So the first thing you want to do is reach out to your favorite software support who you normally work with. If you don't know who that is, you can always reach out to me. My email address is fridler@rccbi.com. And then we can talk about this, because you're going to have to come to version 10. All of this work was done in version 10. Version 9 is more what we call our legacy version, or our legacy product. And if you're asking about version 9, that means you probably don't know much about version 10, because we don't have too many people on the legacy version 9. So that's why I say reach out to me or somebody that you normally work with as your main support person if you have them. But I'd love to sit and chat with you about it. But yeah, we're going to want to get you to version 10 regardless of what you want to integrate or who you want to integrate with, because you're missing out on some enhancements that probably benefit your company. So yeah, reach out to me. But yes, if you want to use P3 integration, you're going to have to come up, you should come up to version 10 anyways, but you have to be on version 10.
Is there anything else, Emma?
And so it looks like we have another one here. So when gas checks and pictures get sent over, is there a way to label which location it belongs to?
Does that come into because we're fully aligned, as we've been talking about, like all the locations come over from RCC to us. So if let's say you've got 2 locations on an account, the house and the barn or something, if the work was done on the house, Freddie, does that pass directly to the house location on your side?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm not, so right now with our imaging is based on the customer file, not the location. That's a fantastic question, and I'm wondering if there's some identifier in the way it's coming to us that we can somehow put inside of this.
Okay.
Let me look into that one, because right now all of our images is customer driven, right? We have locations, and the locations have their own information, but the imaging side of it is based on the customer itself. So I don't know that's if there's something, because we create the P3 subfolder and then we create the general, and that's where we're putting everything. Maybe we need to take that a step further and have it by location. So that's a
Okay.
fantastic. I'm glad. Thank you for over asked that. If you are or not an RCC customer, you should still email me that so I can bring that up at our next leadership meeting, so I could talk to our team about that question. If that was an RCC customer who just asked that, I'm sure you have my information. Please send me that so I can reach out to you and keep you in the loop of that discussion.
Okay. And we can obviously, Freddie too, will take a, you know what I mean, let you know, too, if for some reason it's not.
Yeah, I believe there is a P3 recap call this week actually with RCC and P3.
Great.
So we'll put this on
Perfect.
the agenda.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, great. No, that's a good question. All
Very
right.
good
Is there anything
question.
else, Emma?
Yeah, no, that was it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, I think this is great. It sounds like we had some sounds like some good questions shook out, which is always good. We we want to keep this quick and hopefully a good resource for people to to learn a little something about the system or systems in this case. So I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off, Freddie?
Nope. Just thank you again for working with RCC and the great business relationship and partnership we've created. It's been nothing but 5 stars.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks again for joining us today, Freddie. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and it's nice because we get to do this relatively frequently because we keep making changes and making this thing better. So there's more and
Right.
more to talk about. So that's good. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today and for asking good questions. And yeah, if anything else pops up, don't be afraid to reach out to either of us. And thanks again, Freddie. All right, bye
Yes,
everybody.
thank you. Bye, everybody.